Okay, how are you doing today, Jill?
How are you doing, Ma? I'm
Good.
doing okay.
Good.
Yeah.
So last week we had an opportunity to kind of introduce some of this Q therapy, um, and you had an opportunity to see some of these items. And I was just wondering if, when we start on a scale of 1 to 10, can you tell me how triggered you're feeling right now?
I'd say an 8.
Yeah. Okay. And last week it was about an 8 as well.
Yeah.
And if you remember, we sat for a while, and you came down to about a 4 by the end, I think.
Yeah.
So if you remember, one thing that you learned was if you sat long enough, you knew that urge would pass.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things
Yeah.
that you learned.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Okay. So that was something that resonated with you.
Yeah.
You know that if you wait long enough, the urge will pass, and you're not going to need to use.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're feeling comfortable today, I think that one thing we might want to do is for you to actually start holding some of these, and you can start talking about what's coming up for you, maybe some memories, what you're thinking, maybe following through. What would it be like if you were to start using again? Are you comfortable with touching and kind of exploring some thoughts?
Kind of excited.
Yeah.
Kind of scared. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Those
for
are
sure.
those are some. I mean, I'm sure you have some lingering excitement. Those are some emotions that I'm sure come up. So go ahead and whatever you're drawn to.
The needle, of course.
Okay.
Can I open it?
If you're feeling comfortable, yeah.
I haven't had a needle in my hands for a while.
Yeah. And how are you feeling?
Kind of anxious about it. Yeah, it's weird because it's like you got the right. This is a diabetic needle, and when I was living in my old apartment, that when I got raided by Missouri River Drug Task Force, one of the gals in the apartment complex, she was a diabetic, and so I'd trade because I was dealing, and I used to trade her drugs for syringes because I didn't want to go to the store to get them. So actually, this is the exact size syringe that.
So it feels very real to you right now.
It feels very real to me, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, the urge to use is?
Probably a 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So let's follow that a little bit.
Okay.
If you were to use right now.
Yeah.
What would happen? We can start with the immediate, and then we'll go to the long term.
Well, I think that initially it would feel good, like that rush would feel really good, and I don't know, it just is like this amazing feeling to get high, and then and then I think back to like my daughter gets out of school today at 2:50. And I know if I had drugs, I would not be able to pick up my daughter from school, and that would be quite devastating. And I know that not only would I not be able to show up for my daughter, I know most likely at the end of the day I would end up right back in jail and incarcerated. And I also know that if I used even just a little bit, just to have like a little taste, I'd be off and running. So I wouldn't pick up my daughter from school, and I wouldn't be, I'd be off and looking and chasing another sack and trying to get more, and it just never stops. And I wouldn't be home for the holidays, I can tell you that.
So you're pretty aware that it's not.
No.
It's not the rush, it's.
Yeah.
It's everything that follows.
Yeah, I can play it out in my head now, but it's it's still pretty triggering. Yeah. It's a trip.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this down now.
Okay.
Okay. and we've been working a little bit on CBT skills and changing my thoughts and changing my behavior. And I think that plays a large part in some of this stuff is being able to recognize those thoughts and playing them out, right?
Right, and seeing that and saying, okay, it's not the rush, and seeing that and saying, it's also losing my daughter, and it's losing my holiday, and it's my freedom,
Everything.
it's going
my
and being incarcerated, and it's losing my daughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good job catching that thought.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
just set that down. So if you were to rate yourself right now, the urge to use that needle, would you say it would?
Probably a 7.
Okay. Great.
Hi, Kat.
Animals love you.
No, they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah. So, and this.
What else are you drawn to?
This, of course. Yeah. This one is probably the most scary for me. Like, I know that my family is still using back home on the reservation, and that concerns me as we've talked, because I know that it's highly likely that when I do return home, that I'm gonna be exposed to a lot of this stuff. But this one is everywhere. Like it's just more socially acceptable to drink,
right,
than not to drink, and
it's legal.
And it's legal. Yeah, I mean it's everywhere. So this one, I think, those ones I kind of have to go out and seek a little bit more, like doctor shop or find prescription meds on the street, and then meth, find on the street. So when I get out, if I'm able to wrap myself around some recovery people and whatnot, hopefully I'll be able to avoid some of this other stuff. But this one, I go to Safeway and I have to go get my bread, and I'm walking by the beer aisle.
Right, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So yeah, this one's concerning to me.
So what's coming up for you right now?
Well, I want to open it and drink it. Like, with that stuff, you didn't have any drugs in that, but with this one,
it's right there.
I kind of want to drink
it. Yeah. Scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, I'd say a 9.
Yeah, because it's right there.
Yeah, and this is the beer that I used to drink. So it's extremely triggering. But if we go back to that CBT stuff and being able to play out my last drink, like, or my last time I had alcohol in my hands, like I punched that clerk in the face and eventually ended up at Elkhorn Treatment Center, and I don't want to do that again. Yeah. So when we were talking about, like, Safeway and stuff like that, being able to think about it before I go in and kind of plan my route throughout the store to avoid that aisle
that's going to be really helpful. And then there's going to be times where it comes up when you're not expecting it, right? So that's going to be an opportunity for you to use some of your DBT skills. Okay. When you're feeling really triggered in the moment, you can maybe channel some of the mindfulness and trying to stay present, connected. What are you feeling? What are you touching? What are you smelling? Okay. So if you want to practice some of that right now, whatever it is, if you're feeling really triggered, you can think about feeling the ground underneath your feet. What is it that you're smelling? What are you carrying? Does it start to bring you down a little bit?
It does.
Yeah. Because you've built some really good skills.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
And those are going to be important for you to let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're feeling triggered.
Yeah.
When it comes up and they're unaware.
Yeah.
Or not expecting it.
Yeah. I think this is great that you guys do this, because, I've been to plenty inpatient facilities before, and this is not something that we're able to do. And I think that, like, this stuff is reality for a lot of us. And so being able to process it in a therapeutic environment,
in a safe place.
in a safe place, is has been extremely helpful.
I'm glad, Joe.